So I'm here with Chris, and we're going to talk about how he met his wife. So.
Okay.
Tell us your story.
It's a long story. In the 1980s, after I left my job as a special agent with the Customs Service, my best friend and I began sort of a pilgrimage. We spent the next 20 years traveling all over South America. We took a bus trip from Buenos Aires all the way to the top of Colombia. And from Buenos Aires, that's a long, long way by bus. Anyway, basically we were looking for a place to land when we retired. Anyway, we went to, he said, let's go to Asia. So we went to China, and I saw China, and it just didn't interest me. I've gone to Vietnam. I lived for a few years in Thailand, which was fun, but it's difficult. The women are Buddhists. I'm a Christian, so I couldn't really relate. But anyway, my brother, who's now my brother-in-law, brought me here to the Philippines, and because he was flying at the time, he put his girlfriend in the apartment with me, and who later became his wife. We got to be friends, and she's a great lady. Anyway, she, during this time, her sister's husband died, and she lost her job where she had been working before. So she came to my house, and she stayed with us for a couple of months, and we fell in love. I mean, there's much more to it, but yeah. And we fell in love, and then over a period of time, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and told me that I knew she had 4 children that were fatherless at this point. And she'd only been with one man, and she hadn't even been with me yet. But I knew that was my task and my purpose. And we fell in love, we got married, we came to Valencia, and we brought all the kids here. And about 4 years later, I began to start this house. And now the kids my daughter's 18 and has a baby. She's brought a beautiful baby into the world. And my 3 sons are doing fantastic. So I have been truly blessed.
All right, I'm here with a legend, a law enforcement legend in the United States, a DEA retired agent, Chris Hastings. We're here at his beautiful house here in the Philippines, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his career in the DEA and his dealings back in the cocaine cowboy days with Pablo Escobar in Colombia. So back to your career and some of the more interesting cases. Tell us about your money laundering case and how it got shifted from Miami to Tampa.
Well, I came back from Miami, and my coworker, Bob Major, the great Bob Major, a true legend, came up with a very unique plan using one of our best informants. And what they did is they began to launder money in small amounts for the Medellin Cartel, Pablo Escobar. Pretty soon, within 6 to 8 months, we were doing $1 million, $2 million, $5 million pickups in Miami, LA, Chicago, Colorado, you name it. And so anyway, we went from this money laundering case. So basically what happened was I came back from Greenback to Tampa. One of my coworkers, Agent Bob Major, had a great idea. Let's follow the money and see if the money will lead us to the dope. And we had one of our best informants hooked us straight into the Medellin Cartel, and we started laundering money. We originally laundered probably $20 million or something like that. But what we found out was we were getting 10 times the money we laundered in drugs or assets from Colombians we were identifying. And the case went on where we took down cells in New York, which I worked most of the main cases in New York. I was on the security detail for Bob in New York. But anyway, I didn't do any of the undercover. I did just casework and go for work. But we ended up taking down the case by inviting Pablo Escobar's, his name is Alcano. We invited Alcano to a wedding in Tampa because Bob was always being approached at the strip clubs to go with a girl. Bob wouldn't do that. He was really legally married. And he said, I can't, I'm married. And pretty soon they wanted to see the wife. Well, we put in a female agent as a fake wife. But the whole thing went down at a resort area, and we had a wedding. We had the wedding dress, the flowers. It was all set up. They were totally convinced that they had come all the way from Colombia for a wedding. Anyway, unlike the movie, Bob wrote about this in a book called The Infiltrator, which was made into a Hollywood movie. What happened in the movie but didn't happen in real life, there was no shootout, and Bob didn't go to Colombia and have some voodoo ceremony, although Santeria is a big part of the narco culture. At any rate, what happened is we told the Colombians, hey, we're going to have a bachelor party. And the funny part of that is Alcano kept bugging Amir, hey, are we going to get some white girls? Are going to be some white girls there? And Amir said, yeah. And finally, the last night when we told him, yeah, climb in the van, we're going to the party, to the bachelor party. And he says, Alcano said to him, you sure they're going to be white girls there? And he said, Amir told him, promise you, you're going to get like you've never been in your life tonight. And that was the night we arrested him. And it was so bad that they didn't believe us at first. They thought when they saw the cops and the guns come in and people put in handcuffs, at first they thought it was part of a skit, like a sex skit. They were just in shock that they were getting arrested. And we arrested them. And later on, when I interviewed Alcano, I asked him, how do you like the white girls? And he kind of gave me a dirty look. But it was made into a Hollywood movie. And
so what's the name of the movie again?
the movie was The Infiltrator.
The Infiltrator. Excellent.
It's a lot of it is real life, but you can discount the Hollywood shootout that didn't happen. Thank God we had no shooting. So
if you do your job right, you can avoid all that.
Yeah, and then we worked for years and years taking down the seventh largest bank in the world, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, or better known as the Bank of Crooks and Criminals International. And it was a three-letter agency bank that was involved in the Iran-Contra, bin Laden, everything.
Wow.
Okay. And we literally took it down worldwide, the seventh largest bank in the world.
Interesting. Okay. Right.
So that's how I ended up with my book that I wrote about the fabulous 80s. And I hope you'll buy it. I don't even see the money. It goes straight to GoFundMe or something like that, some kind of charity webpage. And all the money goes to stop human trafficking worldwide. So I hope you'll buy my book. And if you stop by the house, I'll sell you one straight up. Hello, everyone. First, let me say thank you, James and Karen. I appreciate the interview. I'm more than happy to promote the book. The book, all the profits go to charity. I don't even see the money. So it's certainly been a pleasure to meet you and your wife.
Well, this is an amazing opportunity for us to come and see Valencia and get firsthand knowledge of Valencia from somebody that actually lives here. And also, I'm very much a history buff, and you have firsthand knowledge of what was going on in the 80s in Miami and Colombia and in the U.S. in general. And this is a fascinating topic, and it kind of overlaps with your life in the Philippines. So I want to hear your story. I really appreciate you inviting us here and telling your story.
You're more than welcome. Okay, well, I guess I should start out with my childhood. My father was a Navy Master Chief. I'm from Miami originally, Homestead. We moved to the Space Center when my father became an engineer at NASA. My mother was a homemaker, Southern girl, redneck girl, devout Christian, gun-carrying redneck mama. And she was a fantastic mom. Unfortunately, I lost my mom at 18 and my father at 21. I'll pause for a moment and let you ask me some questions if you'd like.
Sure. So did you grow up rural, hunting, fishing? What was your youth like?
It was literally Tom Sawyer existence. We brought our guns into the school to clean them. I mean, everybody had pistols and shotguns. We didn't. There were no school shootings or any of that mess back then. I graduated in 1975 and went to college, and that was my first real trip outside of my little bubble there in Cape Canaveral. It was beautiful living there. We got to see all the moonshots, and my dad was active there, so I got to go on base, and we hunted and fished every day. It was just idealistic. My dad was an Eagle Scout. I became an Eagle Scout. It was a beautiful thing. When I also had the incredible blessing to spend the last few years of my father's life with him at his side and care for him. And that was a true blessing. I got to know my father and love my father more than I ever could, unfortunately in that way. And I'm an only child, which is probably a good thing.
So how did you end up working for the government? How did you end up being the G-Man in the Customs, Border Patrol, DEA? Because you were both, right? You were Customs and you were...
I was cross-designated. I was a special agent with the Customs Service, and I was cross-designated with what are called Title 21 powers and authority for major money laundering, narcotics, cocaine investigations. I was at ground zero. Americans knew nothing basically about cocaine until we first started seeing it in Tampa and Miami in around 1980. I started in 1980 as a Customs Patrol officer. We worked plain clothes, but we worked everything from human smuggling to pornography, any kind of theft from cargo. We had a strategic group that did restricted technology, ITAR, items that dealt with ITAR and munitions. So I had a real good background in investigations that way.
So earlier you were showing me some newspaper clippings, and you actually busted an Iranian cell that was trying to purchase weapons.
Yeah, we did an undercover, and I think we did around $200 and some odd million worth of purchase from sales to him. We posed as arms dealers.
And so him is referring to an actual Iranian agent who's trying to buy advanced weaponry.
Yeah, his name was. This was during the Iran-Iraq War, so their aircraft were redlined. Because they were the Shah's Air Force at one time.
Couldn't get any parts.
Couldn't get parts, couldn't get tires, couldn't get gimbals. But this guy was interested in tow missiles, chemical biological suits. He wanted heavy duty weapons. And and he ended up, we fronted him. We walked, what we call walked. We walked some biological suits and some other things, and baited him into it, and ended up taking, I think, $100 million from him.
So for civilians like me, walking is like baiting them. You give them some of what they're looking for to gain their confidence.
Yeah, it's a sample. It's a sample.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's to gain their confidence. We're only allowed to, because it's still illegal to ship that outside of the U.S. However, we got exemptions from what the Office of Foreign Assets Control in Washington gave us permission, and that's how we were allowed to walk them. It's never done, in my days, it was never done with cocaine or weapons.
Okay, interesting. Mm-hmm. So how did you end up in Colombia? What year did you first go to Colombia?
I went there in the late 80s. TDY, temporary duty, to the embassy and that sort of thing. At that time, we were working Pablo Escobar. He was the main target. And there were two cells of us. There was a group in Colombia who were actively pursuing him tactically, kinetically, with the Colombian military and the Colombian National Police. And then there was the second part of that, which was what we were doing is the money laundering, going after the money. The old story that brought down the gangsters in the 30s.
Yeah, Al Capone, famously. Al Capone, they couldn't get him on all the other bad stuff, the murders and whatnot.
Tax evasion.
They got him on tax evasion.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you and I, James, we discussed this, but I'll go over it for the audience.
Yeah, why did they choose you? And part of the reason you told me is because your language skills. Mm-hmm. Elaborate on your language skills.
Yeah, I've been speaking, I'm a 100% gringo. However, I grew up next to Cuban family on the one side and Colombians down the street, and I love to eat rice and beans, so I was over at everybody's house, and I kind of just picked it up. Then I tested, early in my career, I tested to attend the first group of agents that were going to go through what's called the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. And it's where all the spooks go, all the transcribers from State Department, et cetera.
Probably not as many transcribers these days.
A lot of it's done by machine now, yeah.
Yeah, they had like Echelon, and there were a lot of key programs where they were searching keywords. So that's.
Yeah, you still need, intelligence is great, but 2 decades of investigations have taught me that you need human intel to really get a case that's presentable to a grand jury.
So,
but, go ahead.
So I want to ask more about Pablo Escobar. For the people that don't know, what happened to Pablo Escobar? How big was he in the international drug trade?
At one time, he was responsible for about 85% of all cocaine imported into America.
85%.
He was making $1 billion a month.
$1 billion a month. That's in 1990s, early 90s.
Mid-80s, 1980s,
wow.
yeah.
That's a lot of money. He was pretty eccentric too. I mean, this is a guy who imported hippopotamuses, right? Right. Colombia is infested with hippopotamuses.
And now they've gone feral and they're living in the river. It's hilarious. But anyway, my group, I started out, my boss sent me to Miami on temporary duty at Operation Greenback. Operation Greenback was the first congressionally certified undercover operation where we were allowed to launder money. I think we were getting about a 5 to 6 point VIG, depending on the conditions. VIG is an interest. Anyway, we laundered, I don't know, 15 million, I think, for them in the first few years. And we literally got 10 to the dollar of what we laundered in seizures, bank accounts, cars, Rolexes, you name it. I mean, it was unbelievable, the bling that was going on. First thing my boss said to me, and you'll see that in the pictures, first thing my boss said to me is, bro, you look like a fucking cop. Don't cut your hair, let it grow out, go to the seizure cage, get the biggest gold chain and crucifix you can find, and go down to the beach, Miami Beach, and buy some stylish clothes, because you look like shit. You look like a cop. He said, you look like a cop so bad that I can smell bacon in this room. I mean, he really, really got on me. So I went down, I came back with an earring and long hair. A year from that, I started doing Undercover.
So what was Colombia like in the 80s?
Well, it was a war zone. And I mean a true war zone. I lost 20 or 30 friends,
Wow.
maybe 100 people that I knew that worked for the Colombian military. You know, some of my own people too. Most of the agents were killed in air accidents or boat accidents. But, you know, it was a rough and tumble time. When I started in 1980, I started with a Smith & Wesson police 6-inch revolver. I mean, we didn't have
So what did the bad guys have?
Mac 10s and all that. Thank God we had such a corruption problem with Miami PD. It was unbelievable. One guy was the leader of Syntax 6. I'll think of his name in a second. God bless him. He's famous. He was the first one to get that select group of Miami PD full auto. And so we were equal with the Colombians and the Cubans. But up until then, we were operating on a shotgun.
So you guys had shotguns, they had full auto
Yeah,
assault rifles.
which is a little bit underpowered. Immediately we got M4s left over from Vietnam, and we tricked them out. But and I carried a Glock 19 9mm. I just prefer that weapon over any other caliber.
No, they work.
They
They
work.
have a reputation.
But you know, when you're working in a unit, in a group, everybody has to have
Standardization.
standard ammo. Because if I need to throw you a clip, it can't be 10 and you're 9, you know, so.
One thing about the Glocks, the magazines always tend to work. If you drop them on the feed lips, they still tend to work. A lot of other platforms, you drop them on the feed lips, they stop working.
They're the most reliable handgun, and next to a revolver, it's the only thing I'll carry. But anyway, I did not, like Don Johnson, I did not get the Ferrari, but I did get a 280CX. And, you know, it was very different. Miami was, I've said it before, you could walk into a bar, if you were a good talker, in an hour, you could have a 10-kilo deal set up in the morning.
Wow.
I mean, it was that prevalent. At that time, it was 60,000 US for a kilo of pure right off the boat. At the height of the invasion by our former president, I guess, I'm not sure what he was. Anyway, Mr. Biden. Mr. Biden opened the gates, and at one point, the price of a kilo in Nogales or over the border in Arizona somewhere was 18. So what that indicates, if you know economics, that indicates an oversupply.
18 what? $18?
18,000 a kilo.
18,000 a key. What was it back when in the Escobar days when you were
60,000.
60,000? So that was and a 60,000 would have been worth a whole heck of a lot more money than now.
Yeah, it was more like 150,000.
Yeah. So that's pretty. That shows that's.
Yeah, it was outrageously. That's why but that was during the Studio 54 days in New York and all the celebs were doing it, and you know, crashing out in cars and planes, and it really did a lot of damage to America. The reason I got involved in it, you know, I walked by a job fair and I got the job because the guy had been in the Navy with my father, which was nice. But, you know, I didn't do this. I come from a family of service. My grandfather was a military officer in the Army. My father was a Master Chief in the Navy. And, you know, it was just in our culture to serve in our nation. And I joined because that's what we do, you know. And I guess if we were coal miners, we'd be coal miners. And it's an honorable profession. But I never did it for the money. I became an adrenaline junkie, quite frankly. I really got off on it. And you asked me what happened to Pablo Escobar. He had billions of dollars and he still ended up dead like a piece of shit that he is, or was, on a rooftop in Colombia, in Medellin.
Who got him?
I'm sorry?
Who got him?
You'll hear a bunch of bull rumors about the SEALs and all this other crap. DEA did it. All of it's crap. I know all the people that were there. I've spoken with them. It was done by the Colombian National Police. They shot him. I know the
intelligence from the U.S.
Well, at the time we were tracking him on we were just beginning to understand using technology to triangulate a phone. And we had air assets above, and the guys on the street had some makeshift stuff made up by the tech guys, where they could track his phone to a degree. They could get it down to blocks. And they got it down to a few blocks, and they got lucky, and they saw him. And he ran out the window. They killed his bodyguard, and he ran out the window, and they shot him on the roof.
Yeah, okay.
Like the dirty dog that he was.
So, what year did you retire from the DEA?
I got out right before 9/11.
Okay. So 2000?
Yeah. But I was on a injured list for a few years, where I wasn't sure if I was out of the office, but I wasn't sure if I was coming back.
So you had a couple of work-related issues, and then you retired. And so we're in the Philippines. How did you end up in the Philippines?
That's a good story. Well, back to the incident, because it's important, I think, in the interview.
Okay.
Early on, I was involved in a shooting where a guy tried to pull a gun on me, and I was forced to use my techniques, my skillcraft, and I eliminated the threat. However, at one point in the late 80s, I got stabbed. My typical stowaway, searching for an illegal alien, and they all carry a little starter pack of a few kilos with them. And I guess he didn't want to go to jail that day or whatever, I don't know. He stuck me. We fought over the knife. My partner came around the corner, put him down. But I ended up with hepatitis C, either through contaminated blood products or through pass from him. And I went through 3 treatments. It's a form of chemotherapy. And 12 years ago, I went through the final treatment, and I was totally cured of the virus.
That's amazing. That's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a blessing from God.
Yeah.
And I've tried to pass that on. Now the medicine is super cheap, and I've actually bought it for people that were indigent that couldn't afford it. And I feel like that's kind of like my responsibility, since mine was paid for by the taxpayers. It's possible. There are people that live here on $1,000 a month. I don't know how they do it, but I couldn't do it.
We can do it easy because Karen and I live on the mountain, but that's another story.
Yeah, now that is a totally different story. That's you want to live there,
Yeah.
and you have a beautiful place and all that sort of thing. My wife and I own this place, and the Airbnb that you're staying in, and that gives us so much freedom. My property taxes are only about $80 a month.
$80 a month property tax.
Yeah, and in America it would be 10 grand.
Easily. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's go back to your career and anything else you want to add to that?
Well,
I got let me interject another one. There are some people that say that you're not patriotic because you left America. I get these guys all the time, and I know it's
really,
yeah, but you left America. You're not patriotic. What do you say to those people?
Well, they're wrong. One of the most patriotic things you can do is have children, pass on your heritage, that beautiful heritage that we have, that honors the United States Constitution and the meritocracy that we should have, that we need. All that, and fathers in the home, a big factor. Without a man in the house, children will stray, and lack of belief in God, and all the things that have made us a great country. So if what I'm doing by passing all that on to my children and my grandchildren is un-American, I would say to them that they need to really reevaluate what they're thinking, because the most beautiful thing I can do is teach them to love America, and they do. They love America.
Exactly. As an expat, you go live abroad, and if you're a good human being, it says good things about America. And if you come over and you're a bad human being, it says bad things about it.
Right.
You're damaging America. So.
Yeah, and the expats that come here and disrespect the Filipinos are the worst people on earth. And the expats that come here and take advantage of the other foreigners are a big problem too.
Yeah.
I have no love or mercy for them, and we both know, I think all of your viewers will agree, that karma never loses an address, and you will pay for the things you've done and the lies you've told. That's my belief and how I see it.